Historical differences in usage of Mrs. for mistress or Mrs. The title Mrs. stands for mistress, but some English native speakers claim mistress is only used to indicate the woman with whom one has an illicit affair and that Mrs. is the long version of Mrs. I'd like to know what happened historically. Wikipedia affirms that the non-contracted version is mistress, but that Mrs. is also an option to the evolution in meaning of the two terms. Also, then Graham Viewer shows mistress to be predominant in its books, which of course says nothing on the meaning.
According to the following source, the change from mistress to Mrs. took place in the 18th century when the two terms were gradually used with two different meanings, apparently for no clear reason. Mrs. Corruption of mistress, as oral form of Mrs., from 1790, the Mrs., the wife, attested by 1833. Mrs. 1580s, abbreviation of mistress, QV, originally in all uses of that word. The plural MMES is an abbreviation of French mesdames, plural of madame, used in English to serve as the plural of Mrs., which is lacking. Pronunciation Mrs. was considered vulgar at least into 18c. Cf. Mrs. The Mrs., one's wife, is from 1920. Etym online. Mistress versus Mrs. It may come as a surprise that a Mr. and a Mrs. aren't actually short for Mr. and Mrs., they were originally abbreviations of master and mistress. Mistress used to be the title prefix to the name of a married woman, a usage dating back to the 15th century, as these early examples in the Oxford English Dictionary, OED, show. 1463 in S. TYMMS Wills and Amp, Inventories Berry St. Edmunds, 1850, 36, I, bequeath to my mistress Clopton a spoon of beryl. 1471 J. Partun in Partunlet, and Amp, Papers, 2004, pi. 443 if it come to Mistress Alisabe Higgins, she shall convey it to me. The use of a mistress to denote a married woman is now the least common meaning of the word. It only survives as a dialect form in some parts of the world. When and how did Mistress divorce Mrs.? So, the abbreviation for a Mrs. survived, but not the practice of pronouncing it as a mistress. Today, the only standard, accepted pronunciation is a Mrs. But how and when did this happen? According to the OED, around the 18th century, Mrs. first became an informal contracted pronunciation of Mrs., and ultimately, the only allowable pronunciation. When this stage was reached, Mrs., pronounced a Mrs., became a distinct word from a mistress. The evidence of when these changes happened is lacking, but J. Walker, in his Critical Pronouncing Dictionary of 1791, notes that mistress as a title of civility is pronounced Mrs., and that to pronounce the word as it is written would, in these cases, appear quaint and pedantic. So, we're not sure when Mrs. and mistress became two separate words, pronounced differently, but we know that this has been the case for at least 200 years. Oxford Dictionary, Language Matters.
The OED specifies 16 principal meanings of the word mistress, and in addition many sub-meanings. The two to which you refer are included in that number. It is sense 2a, which refers to a wife. A. The female head of a family, household, or other establishment, a woman holding such a position in conjunction with a male counterpart. The examples given are as follows. You will notice that those containing the term mistress as opposed to Mrs. are very sparse since the 19th century. A 1375 William of Polearn, 1867, 1016, Med, Alessandrin, Elidi so, at higher maesters and amp, at man no should hire nout miss, a ski walked, from here sit that a 1425 rule st bene, Landst. 1902, 10, Med, Ilkine sal take discipline at war, als here master so, sco where. 1483, 1413, Pilgrimage of Soul, Caxton, 4. 38, 64 she bare hyr Seluen boldly, right as she were mistress, and had allowed the government of the Kyng, and his household that a 1513 H. Bradshaw life st Werburge, 1521, I.21. Sig G. Ative, of which said places, sc monasteries, she had the governance as worthy maestres. 1584, 5 in J. D. Marwick Extracts Rec Berg Eden. 1882, 4. 400 the maester or maesters of Uri House. 1611 Bible, King James, 1 Kings 17. 17 The son of the woman, the mistress of the house, fell sick. 1641 J. Jackson True Evangelical Temper 3. 225 The mistress is a good huswife, but of shrewish condition. 1711 R. Steel Spectator No. 202. 12 That the masters and mistresses of such houses live in continual suspicion of their ingenuous and true servants. 1773 H. Chap 1 Let. Improvum. Mind 2. 72 The mistress of the family must be ever watchful. 1814 Scott Waverley 3. 6. 80 The future mistress of my family, and the mother of my children. 1861 F. Nightingale Notes on Nursing, New Edition, 2. 24 The mistress of any building, large or small, does not think it necessary to visit every hole and corner of it every day. 1896 J. M. Barry Margaret Ogilvy 2. 27 She was 8 when her mother's death made her mistress of the house and mother to her little brother. 1921 A. Huxley Chrome Yellow 131 The young lady accepted him, and in less than a year had become the absolute mistress of Chrome and her husband. 1997 P. Carey Jack Mags 42. 151 It was as clear as day to her that she might one day be mistress of the house wherein she had been called to serve. The other meaning to which you have referred is number 7. 7. A woman other than his wife with whom a man has a long-lasting sexual relationship. In early use, a woman notorious for some act, obs. There are entries for this from as early as the 15th century.
If you want to support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing.